Hey there, welcome back to the channel. Today's stories are all about truth bombs, messy family drama, and people who took things just a little too far. From old high school wounds finally surfacing, to a nanny getting fired over a lie, and even a sister who found out her boyfriend was literally family, yeah, it's that kind of episode. So grab a snack, settle in, and let's get into it. She asked me about high school. I told the truth. Now the whole town hates me. I'm a moderately successful author, not a household name or anything, but my books do pretty well. About 3 months ago, I got a message from someone at my old high school. They wanted to know if a current student could interview me. I agreed, but I made it clear up front that my time there wasn't exactly a walk in the park. Still, I said I'd stick to talking about my writing career. We had a really good chat at first. But as the conversation went on, she started steering things toward my school experience. I kept trying to guide it back to my work, but she noticed. At one point, she asked, "Are you avoiding talking about your time at our school?" I kind of shrugged it off and said, "Let's just focus on the career stuff." But she pushed back and said, "Honestly, I think this could be the better story." So I thought, you know what? Why not? I'm not getting paid, and I don't owe the school anything. Even though it's been a long time, I figured it was worth finally saying something. I brought up a few names. Talked about how I asked for help and kept getting ignored. The teachers back then clearly played favorites, especially with girls on the sports teams. They'd cozy up to them and their parents. I even mentioned a specific teacher who used to mock the way I dressed and how unathletic I was. Then there was the time a group of girls followed me around mooing at me like cows. I eventually broke down in tears and told a teacher, who decided it'd be funny to start calling me Mooly for the rest of the school year. When I finally yelled at her, "My name is Molly, not Mooly," she had me suspended for a week. The student ended up publishing the entire interview. It didn't exactly go viral, but it spread through Facebook and stirred up a lot of buzz in the local community. A couple weeks later, I got an email from someone at the school. They basically scolded me for digging up the past and accused me of trying to ruin the reputations of longtime teachers, especially now, when teachers are already going through tough times. The teacher who called me Mooly? She ended up losing a lifetime teaching award that had been given to her recently. I started to wonder, was it even worth it? Maybe I remembered things differently than they really were? Not long after that, a bunch of old classmates found me online. Suddenly, I was flooded with angry messages. People were accusing me of dragging the school's name through the mud and tearing down respected members of the community. It was so long ago, why can't you just move on? Clearly, some of them haven't changed one bit. The truth is, yeah, it happened years ago. But I still don't know how to feel about all of this. I never meant to start trouble, I was just being honest. I know things are hard for teachers these days. But I didn't set out to hurt anyone. I was just telling the truth about what happened to me back then. So, does that make me the bad one? Comments section summary. Most people backed me up. One person said it best: if a school system lets students be bullied like that, and teachers either look the other way or join in, then yeah, they deserve to be called out. The fact that a school official actually contacted me, decades later, just to shame me for speaking up? That says everything. They didn't care when I was a kid. And now that I'm an adult telling the truth, they still want to silence me? No. Not this time. Funny how telling the truth after all those years can still rattle the people who once ignored your pain. Some folks just hate being reminded they weren't the heroes they thought they were. Now, speaking of hard truths, this next story dives into family drama, betrayal, and a love triangle that left one sister furious and the other one in love. My daughter cheated and lost a great guy, now she's mad her sister picked him up. My wife and I are both 46. We've got 2 daughters, Laura, who's 28, and Anna, who's 25. Back when Laura was in college, she dated this guy named Pat for about 5 years. During their 4th year together, Pat got accepted into med school. Laura, meanwhile, was struggling a bit. She was working down at the docks and picking up extra jobs just to make ends meet. She even started working at a local pizza joint to get some management experience under her belt. From the outside, it looked like she was grinding nonstop while Pat was drowning in med school stress. Eventually, they got engaged. Then everything fell apart. Lara cheated on Pat and she got pregnant. That was the end of that relationship, no surprise there. Anna, our younger daughter, went to the same college but had a smoother ride. She graduated without any major hiccups, landed a solid job in finance, and seems genuinely happy. We're really proud of her. About a year ago, Anna came to us and told us she'd started seeing someone. Turns out, it was Pat. Yep. Same guy Lara had been engaged 2 years ago. They've been together for over a year now, and from everything we've seen, they seem really solid. Pat still seems like the same good guy, and Anna looks genuinely happy with him. Lara, on the other hand, did not take the news well. She's been throwing out all kinds of complaints and emotional drama ever since she found out. My wife and I actually warned Anna that this would stir up a storm, but Anna said she felt bad for Lara, just not bad enough to give up someone Lara willingly let go of. Her words were, she cheated. She dumped him. That's on her. Lara's life has been rough, I won't lie. She's a single mom of 2, and she hasn't been able to get her career off the ground. Her life isn't a disaster, but I know she had bigger dreams. Now she's watching her younger sister date the guy she once planned to marry, and it's sending her into a tailspin. Last Friday, Lara stopped by and asked us to babysit the kids. One of them has special needs, and honestly, my wife and I just didn't have the energy that night. We told her no. That's when Lara snapped. She broke down right there in our living room, spilling everything she'd been holding in, her stress, her frustration, her jealousy, all of it. And in that moment, I finally told her the hard truth. I said, look, these problems you're facing, they didn't just fall on you. You picked your degree. You picked your job. You made the choice to cheat. You chose to have kids and raise them on your own. These were all your decisions. And to be honest, I'm tired of hearing her act like life just happened to her. It didn't. She played a role in every step of it. So, am I the bad one here for saying what I said? Comments section summary. Some folks said I was technically right but came off a bit cold. One person said it best, yeah, your daughter messed up. But she's clearly going through it right now and needed support, not a lecture. They also pointed out that cheating doesn't make someone a lost cause forever. She paid the price, Pat left her. That's justice right there. But interestingly, most of the heat in the comments wasn't aimed at Lara or even me. It was at Anna. Plenty of people said it crosses a serious line to start dating your sister's ex, especially one she was engaged to. Family just doesn't do that. One commenter said, I've got siblings, and I couldn't even imagine doing that. Even Pat caught some flack. Dumping one sister and then dating the other? That's a weird move, even if Lara cheated. So yeah, maybe there's no clear good or bad guy here, but the whole situation? It's messy. Sometimes, the mess we make comes back around in ways we never expect, and blaming everyone else won't clean it up. Now let's talk about boundaries, because in this next story, a daycare provider draws the line hard, and one mom learns the cost of passive aggression. Daycare mom called me strict, so I fired her on the spot. I run a home daycare. I like to think I'm a pretty easygoing person, but I do have a few rules I won't bend on. The biggest one? Don't make me the villain in front of your kid. I get that every family has their own way of doing things, but if you constantly contradict me in front of your child, it makes me look like the bad guy, and I won't stand for that. Another rule I have, no personal electronics or outside toys. The only exception is a stuffed animal for nap time, and that's it. I've learned the hard way. Back when I first started, I let kids bring whatever they wanted. One time, a cheap little toy from a fast food meal broke, and even though it was obviously flimsy, the mom came down on me hard like I had wrecked her kid's prized possession. After that, the rule became non-negotiable. Most families totally understand. But then I got this new 3-year-old, and his mom insisted that he needed his tablet with him. I said no. Respectfully, but firmly. I'm not about to be responsible for an expensive piece of tech in a room full of toddlers. She didn't like that answer, but eventually said, fine. Still, every single morning after that, her son would come in bawling because she took the tablet away in the car right before drop-off. Then she'd give me this look like I was the monster who ruined her kid's day. Every time, she'd say something like, sorry, but Miss Lucy says no tablet. I'd try to redirect him with fun activities and remind him we had plenty of toys to play with, but nothing worked. He'd just sulk for hours. I asked the mom if she could just leave the tablet at home from the start so her son wouldn't have to go through that emotional roller coaster right before daycare. But she kept brushing me off, saying, he needs it. Then came the breaking point. It had been a month of this same routine, and one morning he came in crying harder than usual. I did my usual redirecting, but nothing helped. And then she did it. She knelt down beside him, gave me that smug side eye, and said, I know you need your tablet, sweetie. We've talked about this before, but Miss Lucy is very strict. That was it. I snapped. I calmly looked at her and said, you'll need to take him home today. She was stunned, started fumbling her words like she couldn't believe what I just said. But I wasn't bluffing. He was my first kid to arrive that morning, so there wasn't an audience. I handed her his backpack, told her he was no longer enrolled, and started packing up his spare clothes and belongings. She walked out in tears. Later that day, my husband told me he thought I overreacted. He said I should have just made an exception and avoided all the drama. But you know what? I don't see it that way. This is my business. I have clear policies, and I've put them in place for good reason. I treat every child equally, and I'm not about to bend the rules just because one parent won't respect boundaries. So, was I being too harsh? Or was I just protecting the space I worked hard to build? Running a daycare is hard enough without parents playing games, and when you're firm but fair, don't let anyone make you feel guilty for protecting your space. And now, a story that sounds straight out of a daytime soap. It's awkward, it's shocking, and it's all too real. I told my sister she's dating our dad. And now my family hates me. So, my life's basically turned into one of those wild TV dramas lately, and I seriously need some outside perspective. I'm a 26-year-old woman, and turns out I was born because my mom had an affair. My dad, the one who raised me, decided to stick around and raise me like his own, and honestly, I had a pretty solid childhood. Still, I always looked a bit different than the rest of the family, red hair and all, and I had questions growing up. When I turned 17, my mom took me out for ice cream and dropped the bombshell. She told me who my biological father really was. She explained the whole affair, said I was finally old enough to know, and made me swear not to tell my older sister, who's 28. She also made it very clear that my bio dad wanted nothing to do with me and would never be part of my life. It was a lot to take in, but I kept my word, pushed it all down, and tried to move forward. Fast forward to now. My sister has always had a thing for older guys. A couple of months ago, she sent me a photo of her new boyfriend, and my heart dropped. It was him. My biological father. I sat with it for a few days, unsure of what to do, but in the end, I felt like she deserved to know the truth. So I told her. She didn't take it well, obviously. She dumped him right away, but surprisingly, she wasn't mad at me. In fact, she found the whole thing kind of hilarious. Now she jokes that since she hooked up with my dad, she's basically my mom and gets to boss me around even more. Yeah, real funny. But my mom? She lost it. She said I had no right to share that information and accused me of betraying her. She keeps saying it wasn't my secret to tell, and since my sister isn't blood related to him, it didn't really matter, especially since it was just a fling. It's been 2 months, and she's still angry. She throws jabs at me whenever she can, calls me untrustworthy, and warns everyone that I can't keep anything private. At the time, I really believed I was doing the right thing. But my mom's been so consistently furious that I'm starting to wonder if I crossed a line. Did I really mess up that badly? Some secrets hurt more when you keep them and even more when you finally tell the truth. But sometimes, you have to risk the fallout to protect someone you love. Up next, a nanny lost her job over a lie, but what happens when the person who told it still refuses to own up? We fired the nanny over a lie. Now my daughter won't admit the truth. I'm a 39-year-old woman with 2 daughters, one is 17 from a previous relationship, and the other is 7 from my current marriage. My husband and I both have busy work lives, so we hired a nanny to help out. She also looked after my 12-year-old nephew pretty often, since my brother's schedule can get hectic. A couple of days ago, one of my meetings got cancelled last minute, so I decided to head home early around 3:50 instead of my usual 6:45. The plan was that the nanny would drop off my younger daughter at home for a snack before heading out to dance class. But when I walked in, the house was still empty. I headed to the kitchen and noticed something strange, a can of Smirnoff sticking out of the trash. That was odd, because all the alcohol in our home is stored away in a wine cellar, and neither my husband nor I drink that brand. I was furious. From day one, we made it clear that drinking on the job was absolutely not allowed. I stormed up to my older daughter's room, held up the can, and asked her if it was hers. She swore up and down it wasn't. Looking me straight in the eye, she told me she'd heard the nanny crack open a can and even saw her sipping from it in the kitchen. So I called the nanny right away. She said she was stuck in traffic but would be home soon. When she arrived, I confronted her. She denied it was hers, but wouldn't meet my eyes. She admitted she had a drink, but claimed it wasn't alcohol and that she'd thrown it away somewhere else. Still, I chose to believe my daughter. And I fired the nanny on the spot. Later that evening, I called my brother to let him know he'd need to make other plans for his son. A few hours went by, and then my brother called me back. Apparently, his son told him that my older daughter admitted she'd gotten the alcohol from her friends and tossed it out before I got home. Then, my younger daughter came to me after dinner and said she found more of the same cans hidden under her sister's bed. I confronted my older daughter again, and she finally came clean. She admitted to lying, apologized, and said she learned her lesson. Now my brother and his son are begging us to rehire the nanny. Even my younger daughter asked if she could come back. But my 16-year-old says it would be humiliating to admit what really happened and begged me not to make her face the nanny again. She said it would be cruel to make her apologize every single day by seeing the nanny in our home. I told her that while we're disappointed, we didn't want to put her through that, and that we'd try to find someone just as good instead. I also told my brother and daughter that we wouldn't be contacting the nanny again, because honestly, the whole thing would just be too awkward now. My younger daughter was heartbroken. She even cried and said she loved the nanny more than her own sister. When someone loses their job over false blame and the truth comes out too late, it's not just awkward, it's heartbreaking. And finally, a grieving husband, a son still healing, and a so-called friend who crossed the ultimate line. This last story will leave you shaking your head. She tried to erase my late wife. So I kicked her out of my life. I'm a 35-year-old guy, and I lost my wife 2 years ago. Since then, it's just been me and my 10-year-old son, Sean, trying to get through life one day at a time. We're doing okay, all things considered. I've got a steady job, a routine, and some good people around us. One of those people, until recently, was my old friend Kate. We've known each other since we were kids. She's like a sister to me, or at least she used to be. Lately, she's been trying to push me into dating again. She keeps introducing me to her single friends and acting like I need to move on. I've told her, again and again, that I'm not in that place. My focus is on my son, especially since he has diabetes and needs consistent care. But Kate just doesn't get it. She acts like something's wrong with me for not jumping back into the dating pool. After she introduced me to one of her friends, things started getting weird. She told me I should leave Sean at home more often when we go out, and that I should take down photos of my son and my late wife because they'd make me look unavailable. Basically, she wanted me to erase my family so I'd be more dateable. I told her to stop. I said she was way out of line. She claimed she was just trying to help, but it didn't feel like help, it felt like pressure. Then came the night everything exploded. Kate wanted to host a dinner party at my house and bring a few of her friends over. She said it would be a grown-up night, good food, good company. She even suggested I send Sean to stay with family for the evening, but I said no. This is his home, and he didn't want to go anywhere. Kate came over early, and I made sure Sean was all set for the night. I told him to text me if he needed anything. Around midnight, while I was making small talk with one of her friends, I got a text from Sean. He said he couldn't get the bathroom door open. It was stuck or something. I headed upstairs with Kate right behind me. Sure enough, the door wasn't just stuck, it was locked. Sean swore he didn't lock it himself. I started searching for the key, confused and a little worried. That's when Kate quietly handed me the key. Yup. She had locked the door. I opened it up and made sure Sean was okay. Then I turned to her and asked what the hell she was thinking. She straight up told me she had lied to her friend, said I didn't have a kid, and didn't want Sean to ruin the illusion. She figured it didn't matter since he was sleeping. I was livid. I started yelling, and she kept trying to hush me like I was being dramatic. Her friends left soon after. Then she lost it on me, called me an idiot, said no one reveals they have kids until way later in a relationship, and claimed I didn't deserve her help in moving on. I told her she was nuts, and I kicked her out of my house. Since then, some of her friends have been messaging me, saying I embarrassed her and made a scene after she worked so hard planning the night. But honestly? She locked my son in a room and lied about his existence. That's a line you just don't cross. And there you have it, sometimes the truth blows things up, sometimes it sets you free, and sometimes it just makes Thanksgiving dinner super awkward. If you've got a take on any of these wild stories, drop it in the comments, I'd love to hear what you think. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and I'll catch you in the next one.